Welcome to the second lecture session. Today, as mentioned earlier, we will discuss uh, the control charts. Okay, but before going to the topic of the theoretical part of control chart, we will discuss an example. Let's take an example. Why control chart is required and what's uh, what's it uh, what's it all about. Suppose you are a shaft manufacturer. Now what you do, you produce shaft as per the requirement specified by the customers, right? Now suppose the target or the average diameter of the shaft is 25.75 millimeter. This is the average or the target dimension of the shaft. Now, due to manufacturing error means mechanical, I mean the machine error, or it might be human error. So due to manufacturing machine error or due to uh, human error, that means due to manufacturing error, it is quite possible, or it is actually in practice what happens, that you know always we cannot keep the target level whenever we are going to produce our products. It is true that all the time our intention is to match the target level, that means the mean value. But the problem is that each and every time we do not, due to some process error, the target value does not, we cannot meet, and always there are some deviations. Okay, always there will be some deviations from the mean value or the average value. So that's why the customer is also aware about the fact that whenever the manufacturer is manufacturing a product, it is very difficult, or it is almost impossible in practice to uh, I mean to meet exactly the target value. So that's why, or the mean value. So that's why the customer gives a tolerance limit. There is a upper limit and there is also a lower limit. The upper limit is termed as upper specification limit, and the lower limit is termed as lower specification limit. But this is also true that I am giving this example for the shaft and I am taking the example of the variables. But there are such variable of, that means diameter of the shaft. This example I am giving. But there are cases where the customer does not provide any upper control limit. It provides only the lower control limit. Okay. For example, the weight of some food item, there will be always a lower control limit, but there you cannot give any, the customer cannot give you the upper control limit. If you give more amount of food, there is no objection. Okay. Similarly, in some cases, there are some uh, this is the case where in case of food, you will have some lower control limit. But suppose uh, greenhouse gas emission, there is an upper specification limit. Okay. So, sorry, this is lower specification limit. I'm not talking about control limit. Keep in mind that control limit and specification limit, these two things are different. Very often we get confused about what is specification limit and what is you know, control limit. Specification limits are provided by the customers, but the control limits are actually we find the control limits by the process itself. Okay. So the thing that I was discussing, that in some cases you will have only the lower specification limit, and in some cases you will have only the upper specification limit. For example, in case of greenhouse gas emission, you will have only the upper specification limit. There will not be any lower specification limit. Okay. So there could be USL, upper specification limit, there could be LSL, and there could be USL and LSL both. Okay. So this is the basic funda of the control chart. Okay. And now let's take a look at the theoretical parts. A control chart is an important aid or statistical device used for the study and control of the repetitive process. Control chart was developed by W.A. Shewhart, and it is based upon the fact that variability does exist in all the repetitive processes. Okay, so that what I told just now. So control charts are basically two types. There are basically two types of control charts. Okay, so one is X bar and R chart. Sorry, X bar chart, and there is one is control chart for variables and another is control chart for attributes. Right? There are basically two types of chart. Here in our lecture, our course, we have actually classified our total course here. I mean, the control chart oriented topic, we have divided into three parts. Okay. First, we will discuss control chart for variables, that means X bar and R chart, and also group control chart. The second thing is the control chart for attributes, NP chart, P chart, C chart, and U chart. And then we will discuss some additional type of chart, okay, like Kusum chart or EWMA chart. So those charts also we will discuss. Now, take a look at this figure that I told just now, that the customers, they give some upper specification limit is there, lower specification limit is there. Okay, so you can see that there is upper control limit, there is an upper control limit, and there is a lower control limit. Okay, these are actually the control limits which are determined by the process itself, and this is the target or the mean value. Okay, so why actually these control limits are required? These control limits are required because if you maintain these control limits, okay, then your process, it will indicate that your process is good. Because, for example, when a product is considered as a defective product, okay, for example, if your data point is beyond this specification limit, then that will be decided as a defect, and it will be rejected by the customer. Okay, suppose if your data point is here, and if this is your if your data point is somewhere here, if this is your lower specification limit, so what will happen? or if your upper specification limit is here and your data point is somewhere here, then what will happen? The customer will reject it, reject the product, because you are producing beyond the specification limits. Okay, so if you treat, usually your control limits are within these specification limits. Your control limits cannot go beyond these specification limits. Why? Because if your control limits are beyond the specification limit, then you will not be able to meet the requirements or the demand of the customers, right? So these control limits are provided for controlling purpose, because if you uh, do not, if you cannot control, then what will happen? The problem is that your lot of products will be beyond your specification limits, and that will actually lot of rejection will be there by the customers, and you need to as a manufacturer, you need to again rectify the products. Okay, so that's why. And these, what is this UWL and LWL? This is called upper warning limits, and this is called lower warning limit. So if your data point, if lot of data points are, you find that in your process, if lot of data points are beyond the upper warning limit or beyond the lower warning limit, then it will indicate that uh, there is a chance that it will in future, those many data points you will find that beyond the control limit. Okay, so uh, you need to take care of it. So that's why uh, these control limits so that's why you need to take care of your manufacturing process. Okay, so one important concept is here that I would like to say, that control chart. Okay, control chart will tell you, will evaluate the performance of your manufacturing process, but how to improve the process, it, the control charts never tell you how to improve the process. You need to implement some technical things, like you need to improve the quality of machines, or even you need to change the machines for the improvement of the manufacturing process. So control chart basically evaluate, but control chart cannot rectify the process itself. Okay, because it is not any innovative, or it is not hardcore technology or some uh, innovative core technology. Okay, so this thing we should know. So you can see here that the control chart for variables, we will now discuss about X bar chart and R chart, and we will later on we will discuss about the control chart for attributes. Okay, so control chart for attributes. What is X bar? X bar means mean of subgroup, and R means range, range chart. Okay, so they actually the same, they track, track the central tendency over time, and the spread of the distribution over times. Okay, estimates the observed variation. Hence in the chart, the mean target is denoted by X double bar or mu, and the range is mean of the range is determined by R bar. Okay, usually when we talk about these control limits, control limit is usually taken as the 3 standard deviation from the target. This is taken as the control limit, and usually the warning limit is taken as the 2 sigma deviation of the target from the target, that is taken as the as your the warning limits. Okay, so for plotting control chart, generally plus minus 3 sigma limits are selected and they are termed as control limits, and plus minus 2 sigma limits are termed as warning limits. Okay, so since 99.7% of the samples from a given population falls within these 3 sigma limits, remaining 0.3% will fall outside the limit. This means that in the long run, 3 samples out of every 1,000 will fall outside the plus minus 3 sigma limits. Since 3 out of 1,000 is a very small risk, that's why plus minus 3 sigma limits have been found to give good practical results. So you might ask that why we choose 3 sigma limits for the as the control limit from the mean. So the answer is that statistically it can be proved, or it can be shown that around 99.7% from a given population of the 99.7% of the samples from a given population, if you consider plus minus 3 sigma limit, then it is expected that out of 1,000 samples, so only 3 samples will be there beyond those uh, plus minus 3 sigma level. Okay, so plus minus 3 sigma level is able to maintain very high amount of accuracy. That's why plus minus 3 sigma limit is chosen uh, as it is chosen as the control limits. Okay, so this is the X bar chart for the process control. This is actually X double bar. This represents grand mean. Okay, and this is upper control limit, lower control limit line. Mu plus this is given by mu plus 3 sigma x bar, and this is given by mu minus 3 sigma x bar. Sigma is the standard deviation from the mean, and mu is the mean or the average. This is the central line or the target value. So similarly, this is the R chart for process control. Okay, this is actually mu or x double bar, and this is R bar. R bar means average of the range, and this actually represents average of the subgroup averages. Okay, this we will describe later on. Okay, and this represents just like the same R bar plus 3 sigma R. This is upper control limit, and R bar minus 3 sigma R. This is the lower control limit. So this we can explain with the help of an example. Okay, so now take a look at this. So this is, you cannot see it properly. This is here you can see it that there are some formula how to calculate the upper control limit, what the formula for upper control limit for X bar and the and R chart for X bar chart and R chart. Okay, so here you can see UCL upper control limit mu plus 3 sigma X bar. We know it, okay, because we are considering the 3 sigma 3 standard deviation from the mean. Okay, now you can write that it is equal to mu plus 3 sigma population, 3 sigma population divided by root n. Why? Because you can write sigma x bar is equal to sigma population by root n. Statistically, you can prove that sigma x bar is equal to sigma population by root n. Why? What is here the sigma x bar? It is the standard deviation of the expected frequency distribution of the average. Okay, so statistically from the central limit theorem, you can prove that sigma x bar is equal to sigma population by root n. Okay, those who we will actually not into, we will not go into the statistical parts here, because uh, there are several formula you will find in the quality control, that several formula are used which are actually derived using the concepts of statistics. But here, since this is not the class of statistics, this is the class of quality management or total quality management, so we cannot go into that much details of statistics. But the concept, the derivation part we cannot cover. But what we have found from the statistics, those things we will apply here to get the formula that is used for, or that those are that are applied in the quality control course. Okay, so from the central limit theorem, you can get the formula that how to represent sigma x bar in terms of the subgroup size n, and the population standard in terms of population standard deviation. This is the formula. Okay, and if there is also, you can, if you want to know more insight about it, then you can follow the next slide. There is link is given. Okay, and the statistical approach here in summary format, it is given over here. So if anybody is interested to go through the statistical part or the statistical insights of this formula, so he or she can go through this slide, or he or she can follow this link. Okay, now from here you can write it is equal to mu plus 3 into r bar divided by d2 into 1 by root n. Since why 1 by root n, you can separate it. Now sigma population can be written as sigma population is equal to r bar by d2. Okay, why it is? Because d2 is equal to, d2 is given as r bar by sigma population. Okay, so in case of sigma population, so sigma population will be r bar by d2. So that's why r bar by d2, this has been written. Now here also you can ask that what is d2, and then again we will use another concept, that is d3. What is d3? D3 is given by sigma r by sigma population. Okay, so try to understand that d2, d3, these things are actually some constant term which depends upon the subgroup size or small n. Okay, that means this ratio r by r bar by divided by sigma population, this ratio is fixed for a particular subgroup size. It can be proved. There is a concept in statistics which is known as range statistics. So from range statistics, you can show or you can prove that this ratio is always constant for a particular subgroup size. But if the subgroup size changes, for example, suppose if n is equal to 2, then you will get a particular value for d2. But if n is equal to small n is equal to 3, then you will get a different value of small d2. Okay, so similar thing that is also applicable for the d3. Okay, so these are actually based on order statistics or range statistics. So how it can be proved, that is or how this concept you can have, or if you want to get the more insights about this, about the range statistics, then you can follow their these slides. Okay, I have given you an example where small n is equal to 2. That example I have given you. You can here using Minitab, you can see that these ratios actually we can keep constant. For example, here D2 is equal to 1.13. So you can see that this particular thing is constant. So the similar thing. So these two slides are there. So if somebody is interested to know uh, more about the range statistics, he or she can go through these two slides, or alternatively, there is another link is provided here. Okay, this link he or she can visit or watch. Okay, so now this equal to mu plus 3 divided by d2 into root n into r bar. Okay, now this term 3 by d2 into root n, this term we can indicate as capital A2. Okay, so the formula is UCL x bar is equal to mu plus A2 into R bar. This is the formula. Similarly, the lower control limit LCL x bar is equal to, you can prove that it is equal to mu minus A2 into R bar. Okay, now for R chart, you can UCL is equal to R bar plus 3 sigma R, because you consider that your control limit, upper control limit and also lower control limit will be uh, up to the 3 standard deviation from the mean. So R bar plus 3 sigma R. So similarly, R bar plus 3 into D3 into sigma population. Why? Because sigma population can be written as is equal to sigma R divided by small d3. Okay, so sigma R is equal to d3 into sigma population. This I have explained, I have already explained. So it is equal to, it can be written as R bar plus 3 into d3 into R bar by d2. Okay, why R bar by d2? Because sigma population can be written as R bar by d2. Okay, so you can take R bar as common. So 1 plus 3 into d3 by d2. Okay, so that the whole thing you can consider as capital D4, and you can say that this is capital D4 into R bar. Okay, so similarly, LCL is equal to R bar minus 3 sigma R. Here, this is, you can take the same type of sort of thing you will find here, and you can take R bar as common, 1 minus 3 into small d3 divided by d2. So this terminology you can treat as d3. This, if there is plus sign, then it will be d4, and if there is minus sign, you can consider it as capital D3. So D3 into R bar. This is a hypothetical term, just simple. Okay. So these are actually the formula. Now let's take an example. The idea will be clear if we go through the example. In a capability study of a lathe used in turning a shaft to a diameter of 23.75 plus minus 0.1 mm, a sample of 6 consecutive pieces was taken each day for 8 days. The diameters of these shafts are given in the table below. Construct the X bar and R chart and compare the allowable spread with actual process spread. Okay. So here you can see again, you first, whenever a problem will be given, you at least you go through the problem thrice, and you try to understand what the information, what kind of information are provided, and you try to uh, understand the insight. For example, in a capability study of a lathe used in turning a shaft to a diameter of 23.75 plus minus 0.1 mm, a sample of 6 consecutive pieces was taken each day for 8 days. Okay. So you can see that there are 8 days given, and for each day you have 6 consecutive pieces you have taken. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 each day you take 6 samples. So your sample size, subgroup size, small n here is 6. Okay, this is 23.75 plus minus 0.1. This is the diameter. Okay, so you can see that 23.75, this is the average or mean or target value, and plus 0.1, that means 23.85, that is plus minus 0.1, so that is 23.85. This is uh, the upper specification limit, and 23.65, that is the lower specification limit as provided by the customers. Okay, so now you need to calculate first. If you want to construct the X bar chart and R chart, then you need to find out the upper control limits that and lower control limits, that those formula that we just discussed. Okay, so first let's first calculate the mean of x1. That means the first we will calculate average for first day, average for second day, average for third day. In this way we will calculate up to the average value for the 8th day. Okay, so this is x1 bar, we have got it 23.765. x2 bar we have got, x3 bar, x4 bar, x5 bar, x6 bar, x7 bar, x8 bar. So all the 8 consecutive days, the x bar value or the average of the subgroups uh, that we have considered. Okay, so what will be the value of mu, or it is somewhere in some books it is also written as x double bar. So x double bar is given, x double bar is 23.7696. So this is the target value or the mean value for your x bar chart. Okay, now you consider all the ranges. Okay, so there is in case of ranges there is uh, there is uh, uh, there is R1, there is so there is R1, uh, R1. So how R1 is calculated? Just take a look at the previous slide. Okay, so we will calculate the range. First, range for first day, range for second day, range for third day. In this way, we will calculate the range for the up to the 8th day. So on the first day, the range is the maximum value minus the minimum value. So what is the maximum value here? 23.80. This is the maximum value. And what is the minimum value? The minimum value is 23.73. So we are going to subtract 23.80 minus 23.73. Okay, so here you will get 0.07. So similarly for R2, R3, R4, R5, R6, R7 and R8, all the range value for all the days you have calculated, and later on Finally, you calculate R bar. R bar is equal to all R1 plus R2 plus R3 plus R4 plus R5 plus R6 plus R7 plus R8 divided by capital A. That means 8. Okay, because you are considering 8 days. So the R bar, the mean value of the R, that is range that you are calculating. It is equal to 0.0675. Okay, the mean value of the range, mean value of X bar and mean value of R that you are calculating. Okay. Now, if you use this particular formula that is used for the X bar chart, we know the formula is UCL X bar is equal to mu plus A2 into R bar. Okay, so you know mu, so you put the value of mu. Now, what is the value of A2? A2 is 0.48 for subgroup of 6. Okay, so this value will be given in the question, in the examination, or in real life. There is this kind, there is a chart, and in your book also, in the book of statistical quality control or quality management or total quality management, in the last part of the book you will find that these values are provided for different sample size. Okay, so for subgroup of 6, the value will be A2 will be 0.48. Okay, and these values actually are how these values are actually calculated. The value of A2, these values are calculated actually, it depends upon on the value of B2. Okay, so for example, suppose if you want to, if you know the value of B2, okay, I have said previously that this value is constant. So if you put this value, and if you here, if you put 6, then obviously A2 will be calculated. So in this way, the table is actually calculated. So it will be easier for you because A2 is given. If the value of small d2 is given, then you need to calculate again and you need to find out the value for A2. Okay. Now what is R bar? That is also you have got it from me. So you can find out the value of UCL X bar. Okay. Now the LCL X bar, that also using the similar formula like this, you can also calculate the value of LCL. That value of you can also found. You can also find. Or alternatively, there is also another thing, that is mu plus 3 sigma X bar. If you want to calculate that, I will not use those things, A2 or R bar. I will use the formula of sigma X bar. Then you need to calculate the value of the sigma X. Okay. So how to calculate the value of sigma X? Sigma X is given by sigma population divided by root n. Okay. So sigma population, how to calculate sigma population? Sigma population is given as R bar by D2. This I have shown it, that sigma population is given by R bar by D2. So you can put the value of R bar, and for subgroup size of 6, you can calculate the small d2 value 2.534. So put it over here and you will get the value of sigma population. So sigma population value you can get from here. Okay, and you can for LCL lower control limit, you will also use the same thing. Okay, so these two formula you can use. You can use either in terms of the basic formula, the 3 sigma X bar, mu plus 3 sigma X bar, or mu minus 3 sigma X bar. This you can use, or alternatively, you can also use the converted formula into A2, but this also you can use for this case. Now for R chart. Now for R chart, the upper control limit is given by D4 into R bar. So for D4 is equal to 2 for subgroup size of 6. Okay, so put it 2 into R bar. So this is this value you will get. And for LCL, D3 into R bar. Now notice that D3 is equal to 0 for subgroup of 6. So the lower control limit will be 0. Okay. So now this you can see that here uh, this chart is shown. Usually when if you are asked in the examination that you draw the control chart, if you uh, if you can show only the control limits, that means the upper control limit and the lower control limit, it will suffice. But if in the question it is specifically asked that you also show the warning limits, then you can understand that uh, this formula, okay, this formula will actually not work. In that case, you need to use the formula, basic formula of sigma x bar. Okay, you can see that mu plus 2 sigma x bar, the value is has been found out. This is the warning limit, upper warning limit, and mu minus 2 sigma x bar, that is also found out. This is actually the lower warning limit. Okay, so if it is asked in the question, if it is not asked, then there is no problem. You can use any formula. But if it is asked in the question, then obviously you need to uh, use this basic formula, because unless you use this basic formula, you will not you won't be able to find out the warning limits, as it there is a part of 2, but the A2 and all these things, these values actually depends upon 3, because we always consider the control limits as from this 3 standard deviations from the mean. Okay, so and this is the R chart. Okay, it is, you can see here that the lower control limit it coincides with the x-axis. Okay, because lower control limit is, as you have found it, at 0. Okay, so you plot all these points. You plot it whenever you are going to draw the x bar chart. What you will do, you will first uh, you uh, you you take a suitable interval of the variable. Okay, you take a suitable interval of the variable. Here the shaft data. Okay, here you can see that 23.72, 23.73, 23.74. In this way, the shaft diameter, the variable that has been plotted along the y-axis, and along the x-axis, you will different subgroup number you will represent. Okay, so first you find out the target value. What is the target? Target means the x double bar or mu. Okay, so x double bar or mu, this is 23.76. So 23.76, you write a, you draw a line and you make it as target value or mu or x double bar. Okay, now for each day, that means for each uh, uh, subgroup you represent. So for each day, so for first day x1 bar, what is the value of x1 bar? Then what is the value of x2 bar? That you plot. What is the value of x1 bar? That is 23.765. Then 23.77. So you plot all these things. 23.765, 23.77. You plot up to the 8th day. The average values you plot. Here this point represents the average value of the first day. This point represents the average value of the second day. So you represent all these values. Okay, and also before that you draw the control limits. First you draw the target value, you draw the line for the target value, then you draw the line for upper control limit, and then you draw the value for the lower, draw the line for the lower control limit. For the upper control limit, what is the value? You can see that upper control limit for the upper control limit, the value is 23.802. This is the upper control limit. For the lower control limit, the value of 23.732. So you draw it. These dotted lines represents upper control limit or lower control limit. Instead of a dotted line, you can also use continuous line. There is no problem. And but usually these lines are books, they use dotted lines. Okay. Now, if in question it is asked that you also find out the warning limits, then you also draw the lines for the warning limits. For upper warning limit, it is 23.79. This you can draw this line, and for lower warning limit, that is 23.74. You draw this line. Okay, and then you plot all these uh, all these all the averages you plot, okay, for each day up to 8th day. Okay, so you check whether any of the value or any of your sample average for each day. So if these points are uh, beyond this upper control limit or lower control limit. So you can see here that no points are beyond the upper control limit or lower control limit. Even these points are not beyond the warning limit. So that's why you can conclude that the process is absolutely, it is under control, because these are uh, within the upper, all the points are within the upper control limit and lower control limit, and they also within the warning limit. So there is you cannot say that you don't need to worry that whether my process is, the variation is there is some special cause of variation you need to take care of it. There is no such worry, because and if because you always think that the process variation, it can happen because the normal, in normal situation also the process variation may happen, but if the variation is much more, then you need to understand there must be some assignable causes, and you need to identify the cause that why the variation is going. If the variation is less, then there is no problem, but if the variation is very high, then uh, you need to take care of it, and you need to think that uh, there must be some assignable causes, there must be uh, some critical uh, reason by means of which the variation is taking place. So now you can see that the similar thing is for the R chart. Here the lower control limit is, you are seeing that the lower control limit is 0, so it will coincide with the x-axis, and this is the upper control limit, and the R1 bar, R2 bar, R3 bar. So that all there is not R1 bar, R2 bar. There you have all the ranges R1, R2, R3, R4, R5, R6. All the ranges you have plotted. So you can see from this diagram that no range, this is the range for the first day, this is the range for the second day, this is the range for the third day, likewise this is the range for the 8th day. So you can clearly see that no range is beyond the upper control limit and lower control limit. So taking into account the, if you consider the range chart or the R chart, you can see that there is also nothing to worry, because no range value for any day goes beyond the control limits. Okay. Now in so it is also under absolutely, and the process is under control. Now you can see that here there is a question, it was given that construct the X bar and R chart. So whenever you are going to, if you are asked that you construct the X bar and R chart, that you always need to mention that whether the process is in control or not. Okay. So if anything is beyond the uh, uh, control limit, then you need to write that taking into account this chart, it can be seen that the process is beyond the beyond the control limit, so the process is out of the process is not in control. And now here one question has been given that compare the allowable spread with actual process spread. If one of the chart, if it provides that whether the process is out of control, so you can see from, you need to mention from this point of view, you need to mention that. And compare the allowable spread with actual process spread. Okay, allowable spread with actual process spread. So that question, that answer you should also address. So what is allowable process spread? Allowable process spread is the process spread is upper specification limit minus lower specification limit. It is given here. This is it is written here that this is actually given here. Allowable process spread is equal to upper specification limit minus lower specification limit. Okay, so the specification limit that is already provided here. Okay, you can see that this is 23.85 to 23.65. Okay, so it is basically 0.20, that is the 0.20, that is actually the allowable process spread. Here this is written, somebody has written which is not given, but this is actually given. This is not given, it is not that, it is already given in the question, because the tolerance limit has been given. So the allowable process spread is given, that is, which is 0.2, that is the allowable process spread, and actual process spread is 6 into sigma population. 6 into sigma population, we know at 0.0266, so this is equal to 0.159. Okay, so the allowable process spread is 0.2 and the actual process spread is 0.159. So you can also consider, you can also say that this is the formula of the actual process spread, 6 into sigma population. And you can say that the actual process spread is less than the allowable process spread, so there is nothing to worry, because it is the allowable, if the actual process spread is less than the allowable process spread, and if the process spread is also under the uh, control limits, so there is nothing to worry, and this process is absolutely under control. So there is a formula that is for to know about the process capability formula of CP. Okay, this is actually known as process potential. So CP is given is upper specification limit minus lower specification limit divided by 6 sigma populations. These things, process capability, there is also another term CPK, process capability index. These things we will discuss in detail when we will study Lean Six Sigma. Okay, but CP is, you just know as of now that CP is given as upper specification limit minus lower specification limit divided by 6 sigma into population. So you can clearly understand that process capability compares the upper specification, the allowable process spread, which is upper specification limit minus lower specification limit divided by actual process spread. Okay, so actual process spread is 6 into sigma population. Why 6 standard deviation? because you know that from the average value, from upper control limit is it is beyond the 3 sigma, it is up to the 3 sigma limit, and the in lower side, that is the lower control limit, that is also up to the that is located at the distance of 3 sigma. So as a total it is 6 sigma. Okay, so almost 99.7% of the products that should follow under this category if the process is in control. Okay, so that's why this is actually these things are actually compared. Okay, so but the uh, so here another thing is uh, why important, because if the actual spread is greater than the allowable spread, then anyway the process is not capable to meet the specific requirements. And if it means if CP is less than 1, then definitely the process is incapable of meeting the specific requirements. Okay, so you can see here that if the upper specification limit minus lower specification limit, that means the allowable process spread, if it is less than the 6 sigma population, it indicates the process variation. Okay, that means it represents the process spread. Now, if the process spread is larger than the allowable spread, then no way it can, the uh, the process cannot meet in any way the customer specific requirements. So lot of products will, it is common sense, because lot of products will be outside the specific the requirements. Okay, so that's why CP should be less than 1. So if uh, CP, now this is actually, CP is a very good indicator obviously, but we will later on we will see that there is also another index which is known as CPK, or process capability index. Okay, why? Because CP measures or compares the uh, process spread with the allowable spread. Okay, but it does not consider the central tendency of the products or of the variables. The central, it cannot measure the central tendency. Okay, it just measures whether we can uh, meet the customer's uh, specifications or not. It only focuses on that. Okay, so CPK is a better measurement as compared to CP. That's why it is written here that however, if CP is greater than 1, it does not guarantee that a production process falls within the specification limits, because CP value doesn't imply that the actual space coincides. Uh, uh, okay, so that's why it is also the uh, it is also another reason. It actual spread coincides with the allowable spreads. Okay, so that is why CP is called as process potential. So this part we will cover when we will discuss about the uh, when we'll discuss about Lean Six Sigma, and also this part will be covered when we will discuss the Taguchi process, or Taguchi's design process. Okay, so so now I'm going to end the session. Okay, thank you all.